Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Conversations of Courage Surviving the COVID-19 Pandemic. I am your host, Art Chat Daddy Sims, the host and creator of The Real Chat Daddy Show, which is seen live nightly via 6 different social media platforms. But today I am here to talk to you guys about surviving COVID. As we all know, the last, year and a half has been a time that none of us would ever thought would have happened. A lot of us have had deaths. A lot of us have had tremendous change in our life. And so I am talking to people of all walks of life about surviving the COVID-19 pandemic. Our next guest is someone who I just love and adore. She is a best-selling book author. She is also a community relations leader. And when I say to you guys, a leader in that, she brings people together of all walks of life. But last but not least, she's the executive producer of a weekly radio broadcast that is heard globally via iHeartRadio. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to Conversations of Courage, Surviving the COVID-19 Pandemic, the amazing Miss Susan Peters. Hello, Susan.
Hey, Art, how are you? That intro is amazing. I wish they could do that for me every morning when I get up out the bed.
Well, now, Susan, we can negotiate. We can navigate that. I can make that happen. I can record it. If you have a Hey Alexa or any of those, I can kind of teach it to say that to you every day.
I like that.
Yes, I can make that happen for you, Susan. You are truly a Renaissance woman. I appreciate you spending time here with me today. As I was explaining to you, these conversations of courage is to talk to people of all walks of life about just navigating their way through the pandemic. I'm gonna go back just a little bit if I could, Susan. The date would be March 13th of 2020. Yeah. That's when the COVID-19 pandemic was declared a national emergency by our president. On March 15th of 2020, the CDC suggested that we not do any large gatherings, everybody kind of shelter in place. And so I want to first of all find out from you, what did COVID or what does COVID mean to you and how has it affected you?
Well, it affected me like it affected everybody in the world. It was cataclysmic. And I think what the first thought I had was just fear. It instilled me with a lot of fear. I was living alone. So in January, my middle daughter moved back home. And that ended up being really a great thing for me because it kept me from being completely isolated. But it also made me feel like I needed to go into protect mode. And when things got a little crazy, I went and bought a gun because I need to be locked and loaded. If you come up in here, you going back out with something other than my stuff. So that was something that really affected me. So that was my initial response. I went into, okay, I'm scared, but I'm going to protect myself.
Okay, very good. So I could get that because when the world did shut down, this was unlike anything that we had ever heard of. We're looking at a global pandemic back in 1918, 1919, and here we are 100 years later. There are some people who are old enough to have remembered that pandemic, but they would have been small children. Yeah. And here we are faced with the uncertainty. And much like yourself, Susan, I saw a lot of looting, rioting, things that you necessarily weren't sure what were going to happen at that particular time. Now, even though you had armed yourself, you had a daughter to move back home, you also had some tragedy to happen during the pandemic as well, too. Would you like to share that with the audience?
Sure. There were a few things that were just really frightening. And I remember my eldest daughter, I have 5 children. 4 of them live in different parts of Michigan. And my eldest daughter kept calling me saying, Mom, where I work, she worked for a meat packing plant. She said, they're not doing anything to protect us. I just feel like I'm going to catch COVID. And she had a pre-existing health condition. And as it turned out in April, she did come down with COVID. And I remember saying to her as she was going to the hospital, take your phone and take your charger.
Yes.
So that ended up being such a godsend because it just makes me emotional when I think about it. Like I would wake up in the middle of the night and it would be spirit saying, call her. And I would call her and she would be crying. And I would pray with her and send her music. And she pulled through, but I'm not a person to put my business on Facebook. But I did say, my daughter is walking through the valley of the shadow of death. And I
Mm-hmm.
need y'all to pray.
Mm-hmm.
And, she came through it. But it was interesting because when I talked to her later, she said, Mom, some of those times when you were calling me and affirming that I was going to get through this, the pain was so bad, I was praying in the other direction. And I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, I don't know how you knew, but when you were praying one way, I was like, I just want this whole thing to be over.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really challenging. And I had a mom who had dementia, and her husband, she was 96. She ended up passing away like much later, April of this year. But April was pivotal because my daughter got COVID in 2020. My mom passed in April of 2021, actually on her husband's birthday.
Oh
Those
no.
were, yeah, really traumatic experiences.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you this. Not only did you buy something to protect your home and your valuables, not only did you protect yourself, but knowing that your child is sick with COVID, then a year later you lose your mom to COVID. Susan, where did any happiness come in through all of this? Were you able to find some happiness during these down periods?
You know, Actually, yes. I think for years, I have been studying truth principles. And when you have situations that come and shake you to your core, I was taught that's the universe saying, prove me now. Like, prove that you believe these things that you say. And so it was a time when I prayed a lot every morning. I still do. It's like I reintegrated prayer more into my life, and meditation became a mainstay. So having an hour and a half in the morning to pray and meditate, that has been an essential for me.
Mm-hmm. It has. Very good. Let's talk about the health aspect of all of this. You and I have talked offline several times, and we had a fitness expert. Well, as a matter of fact, we've interviewed two fitness experts on
Yeah.
Conversations of Courage. Our last fitness expert said she told her clients not one damn pound during the pandemic. And I told her, I said, are you kidding me? We learned how to make muffins,
Yes.
cakes. We learned how to make just rich, wonderful things. We had households full of people. So the pounds, they just kind of crept on us, I think, a little bit. What did you do to help your health? I know you're very active. You swim, you're out a lot doing things, but what was your health regimen in the height of the pandemic?
So if you think back to that period, we were not supposed to really go out much. So I started doing YouTube videos, and those were helpful. And then I finally decided, okay, I'm just gonna walk these streets. So I would dress warm and walk up and down the streets because not seeing other people, I was able to take my mask off, And it gave me a sense of freedom. So I just made friends with the cold because I'm a person who used to not like cold weather. And I'm like, shoot, cold weather is good. The air is fresh and clean, and I can just walk and breathe. And then eventually, things started to open up where I could go to the Croc Center where I'm a regular and just kind of walk with my mask on with other people. But that
Mhm.
that was my salvation, being able to move.
Very good. Was there any particular diet that you adhered to, or did you stay to your regular diet? You mean to tell me like chocolate chip muffins didn't kind of sneak in there somewhere? You mean to tell me some, I don't know. Tell me, what did you
Listen,
eat?
when she said not one damn pound, I'm like, I did not hear that because I gained 9 pounds. And I think most people did. Like, I looked at movie stars whose stock and trade is their physicality, and I'm like, ooh, they done gained 10, 15, 20 pounds. I only gained 9, right? But I did gain my 9 pounds. I lost it, or I gave it back, but I
Yes.
did pick it up because I ate stuff that I just normally wouldn't even eat.
Yes, very good. What advice? I love the fact that you're a mother, a grandmother. You have lived globally. You are what I consider really a humanitarian. What advice would you want to give to families at this particular point of coming through COVID? People that have lost loved ones, people that just may still be struggling with unemployment. Where is the peace factor in all of this?
Well, I think it is in connecting with other people, because COVID isolated us in some ways. I don't even think that we've recovered. Like, it's still hard to just walk up to somebody and hug them. In your mind, you're trying to assess the risk factor. And as a person who is naturally a hugger, I felt like I lost my superpower.
Yes.
But I think it's in trying to connect with people in whatever way and being empathetic to the fact that everybody has been through something, and we share it or we are affected by it in different ways. So for some people, their tempers are short. You see people driving so fast, and you're like, "What is this?" People's manners are like frayed, and of course the violence. But there's always, a way to look for the good, and I try to shut off of some of the negative influences and go to the Hallmark channel where the endings are always happy. Because at some point, you just need some relief from all of the stress of the day to day.
You do. You really do. What other advice would you want to give to people about living their best life? Despite whatever the situation may be, what do you want them to best do to live their best life?
I think set some goals for yourself, regardless to what is appearing in your life, and move toward them. For instance, I was started writing a book that was supposed to be done in 2020. I didn't have the bandwidth for finishing it, but I just kept working on it because any movement forward is forward movement.
Right.
So I just kept marching forward until eventually I was able to publish it, and I was like, wow, it took me longer, but it's a win in my corner. It was done.
Very good. Very good. Well, what's next for you as far as seeing into the future as we are coming out of post pandemic?
Well, for me, I'm really focused on going on a vacation because 2 vacations were canceled. There was a Cancun vacation and an 8-day jazz cruise and I felt like I was being held hostage. I actually went to Michigan once to see my kids, and I took my own towels to the hotel, my own sheets to the hotel, and it took me 30 minutes to clean the hotel room until I felt comfortable. So I'm looking forward. I'm supposed to be going to Jamaica soon, and that is what I'm really focused on.
Very good. Well, Susan, I just love and adore you. I appreciate you so much for sharing just some of your life with us. Conversations of Courage Surviving the COVID-19 Pandemic has not been an easy project because there are some people who want to talk about it, where there are other people who don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I'm so honored that you would share some of your life with us and help us to better understand, because even though it was tragic and a lot of life-changing things, people really did find peace. They just rediscovered their health, and there was some sense of happiness that we all ended up gaining through this, whether, it was tragedy or not. For more information about our guest, please visit SusanDPeters.com, SusanDPeters.com. Susan, I appreciate you so very much for all that you do. And I love you. That's all I can say, my friend.
I love you back, Art.
Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Conversations of Courage, Surviving the COVID-19 Pandemic. Our guest today was award-winning author, community relations liaison, and the executive producer of a weekly show that is heard globally via iHeartRadio. Susan, what is that show?
The Community Health Focus Hour, Saturdays from 1 to 2, sponsored by the University of Chicago Medical Center.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, the incredible Miss Susan Peters. Stay tuned. Another edition of Conversations of Courage, Surviving the COVID-19 Pandemic is coming up next. Don't you guys go anywhere. We love you so very much, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye. See you, Susan. Stay out of trouble, Susan, okay?
I'm going to try, but it's not much fun.
I know. That's what I'm worried about with you. Stay out of trouble is all I'm going to say. Goodbye, everybody.